before we get to the boxing stars, and you're a boxing star, but I want the audience to know you've got another shindig coming up here, another engagement. You'll be singing. Sounds like a bunch of boxing luminaries are going to be out. This is on what, Thursday coming up?
Yeah, I love that word, shindig. Only you see, you're great. You know words like shindig. That's very good. Yeah, we're going to be doing just as I did for the Spence Crawford fight over at the Tuscany Suites and Casino in the Piazza Lounge. We're going to be doing a music show on Thursday with the show at 8 o'clock and at 9:30, and there's no cover charge, so just come on over there. It's a real fun performing lounge. And we're going to be doing also, Showtime Sports has given me a bunch of prizes, so we're going to be doing some boxing trivia in the midst of the show, and that'll be fun. And, yeah, we got all kinds of champions. Raul Marquez is coming over, Abner Mares, a whole bunch of boxing champions. So if people come by, they can rubberneck with some of the boxing personalities, and we're going to do some music, and it should be fun.
I got to ask you a question about the show. Do you have basically the same set every time, or do you like to sing so many different songs that you mix it up every time you do a show?
That's a good question. You always ask me something interesting about that.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah, you do. You always ask me. Last time you asked me a couple questions, I'm like, those are fascinating. So, it is funny you're saying that. I like to mix it up a little bit, and we do have some new songs on this, but I'm not one of those people that feels the need every single time to change everything,
right.
Even though I like a lot of different music. But we do have some different songs that I'm going to be doing this time, and I don't want to do always the exact same because I feel that's kind of, making people, they may or may not want exactly the same. Clint Holmes, a great performer here in Las Vegas, of course, great headliner. Clint was amazing because he would never redo anything. And part of it was he was such a brilliant performer. He loved doing new material. And I used to even say to him, but Clint, if you never do anything again the second time, if we missed it, we're never going to see it again. But yeah, I like mixing it up a little bit, but there will be, if people came out to the last show, they will hear some different music as well.
Are you a benevolent performer, entertainer during the sound check? Because we hear stories about some people are just really mean, and then I heard a story from a friend who plays the Smith Center all the time. She's on strings, percussions. She's percussions, and she had told a story about like Hugh Jackman was like the most wonderful human being ever. I mean, that guy's like he's a real big timer, and he's cool as a cucumber. Do you stay cool, or do you get a little bit nervous sometimes and start pulling like a Cofield and rip people's heads off?
No. You know what? I don't have that. I don't think I'm on the level to even feel empowered to do that. Right? I think if you're a super legend, there were people. There have been many stories of entertainers that are great, but are not the most patient with everybody else. But no, I'm not. My big thing is if I'm worried about any insecurities, it's probably my own, and I just want to make sure I figure out what I'm supposed to do. But I don't ever remember having that. And even in broadcasting, I've had occasions where maybe something went wrong and I was distressed, but you try not to let it get too bad.
Like, do you know who I am? I was at Hagler Hearns. Show me some respect.
Do you know who I think I am?
Exactly. What do you got,
Do you know who I would like to be?
Yeah, there you go.
Al, I've got to ask you, have you had anyone from the audience at one of your shows come up on stage and sing with you?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, just like involuntarily. That's interesting. No, I have never had that. I have had people. We had some relatively recently. It was really weird. Somebody started coming up, and I went off the stage, and I was on the floor of the place, and they came up and they just started dancing around me, which I thought was very odd. And I was like, a guy and his wife, I think it was, and they liked the sound of the song, and they just said, well, we're going to get up and start dancing. And I was like, oh, my God, they just became the floor show,
We got Canelo Charlo coming up this weekend at T-Mobile Arena. You can grab it on pay-per-view.
Yep.
I'm sure people would like, the folks around boxing would love for folks to get out there. Pricey ticket, but it is pay-per-view, so you can watch with Al on the broadcast. We're going to do this a little bit backwards. This fight is a really big fight, but I know you think the undercard is amazing.
Listen, I don't like being guilty of hyperbole, and I don't like to be super shillish about stuff I'm involved with, but I'll tell you what, this undercard is so good. A great 154-pound fight. Erickson Hammerluben, who had a great war with Sebastian Fedora and lost that, but he's been a contender at 154-pound, taking on a guy named Jesus Ramos, which I'm sure the casual boxing fan may or may not know who he is, but he is a tremendous 154-pounder. He's 22 years old, and he might be the future of the 154-pound division, one of the future stars of boxing. He and Lubin is going to make a great fight. And then there's a couple of young middleweights, Elijah Garcia and Armando Resendez, who have been in very exciting fights, and they're going to be battling each other. And then Mario Barrios and Yordenis Ugas in a battle of two veterans, both of whom need a victory very much. And so there's going to be a lot on on the line and at stake for them. So it's just a really good undercard, and I think, it isn't always the case, right? We don't always get that. MMA has done a better job of making their undercards great. Boxing tries, but they don't always succeed. In this case, it is a good one.
So this Canelo fight against Jermell Charlo, Canelo's 420. He's a minus 420 favorite. Does that seem right to you?
Mm-hmm. Well, you mean in terms of being too big a favorite or not big enough?
Too big a favorite.
Yeah, it could be. Part of the problem, part of the reason why that's the case, look, Jermell Charlo is coming up two weight classes. He's coming back off a long layoff, and jumping in against, a guy who is clearly, even though Canelo lost a couple fights ago to Dimitri Bivol, is clearly one of the best in boxing. So that's why I think, Alvarez is a bigger favorite than we might expect. However, I do think that this fight tracks a little closer than that. And at the beginning, it didn't seem like it, did it? Because honestly, it was a stretch for Jermell Charlo to come up in weight like that, although Canelo started out at 154 pounds himself. But nonetheless, a little bit of a stretch. However, most people have, I think, come around to the idea that Jermell Charlo, who has a height and reach advantage, is a terrific fighter, that he's a live dog in this fight. And the big thing for Canelo is that I think he's healthy now. And that's another reason maybe why the odds are where they are. The people that make these kind of odds, they know about these things. Canelo Alvarez is kind of probably healthier than he's been for a while.
Al, I know we only got so much time with you, so I've got to ask, what would be next for Canelo if he got the win here against Charlo?
Well, he has a 2-fight deal that he made. He made a 3-fight deal with the PBC folks, and will be fighting guys that are in their stable. One of the there is the possibility that he could fight with David Benavidez, and of course that would be what a lot of boxing fans would love to see. Though Benavidez, it looks like, is going to fight Andrade in November. So if Benavidez won that, of course, they could be on track to fight each other. I think that's a fight a lot of boxing fans would like. There's also the possibility of Jermell Charlo, his brother, although I think that's probably down the list. So he's certainly a possibility. David Morrell, of terrific young 168-pounder, also a possibility. I think what boxing fans really, really, really want to see is David Benavidez and Canelo Alvarez. And I think we're all hoping that if Alvarez wins this fight and Benavidez would win his fight, that would be the fight I think boxing fans would really, really want to see.
The big fight's coming up this Saturday, Showtime pay-per-view. Al Bernstein, of course, on the call. Damn, Damon, you already moved ahead of what Canelo's doing, and let's talk to Charlo's side. He's got a shot in this fight. I saw
Yeah.
I saw that Freddie said he thinks that the Golovkin fights may have taken a lot more than people believe away from Canelo moving forward. Do you buy into that?
Well, Freddie Roach not only said that he thought Charlo would win, he thought he'd win by a knockout.
Yep.
Now, Canelo has one of the greatest chins in boxing. However, a knockout doesn't have to come because of one punch or a punch hurting you. It can come because of fatigue. Canelo Alvarez has, from time to time, had problems later in fights in terms of his stamina, being a little bit fatigued. We saw it in the Bivol fight. And Charlo said, when we interviewed him the other day in our fighter meetings, he said, I'm not here to survive. Right. I'm not here to not be offensive. And he was very specific in the way he said it. It wasn't bravado. He said, I'm here to attack. And so I'm going to try to attack. And so you could see the possibility later in the fight, if Charlo's going well and Canelo gets tired, you could see that possibility. It's certainly a stretch because Canelo has never been down in his career and certainly never been stopped. But Charlo certainly has a chance in this fight. And here's the interesting thing. You know, he's playing with house money, Jermell Charlo. He's an undisputed 154-pound champ. Going up to weight classes. He says it's a win-win for him because a win, of course, would put him in, wonderful position. He could go back down to 154, which he's still capable of doing. He could even fight somebody else at 168. He could fight at the middleweights. He could do whatever he wants. So it's going to be interesting. And I think this fight, that when it was announced, people thought, it's a stretch. I think now people feel like it's a legit thing.
Al Bernstein, we appreciate the spot. One more time, mention Tuscany coming up on Thursday. You got multiple shows and a bunch of boxing stars out there watching.
Oh, you're so kind. Yeah, Thursday night, Tuscany Casino and Suites and Piazza Lounge, lots of music, boxing prizes. We got a lot of boxing folks on hand there. And come on out, no cover charges. Come out and hang with us, and we'll have a good time. Always a pleasure to visit with you guys.
Thanks, Al. We'll see you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
There he is, Boxing Hall of Famer Al Bernstein, formerly a host here at ESPN Las Vegas, a big part of the build to where we are now, a superpower.